right, well, welcome. You know what, this morning we're gonna start by addressing the elephant in the room, or this morning it's more like the baby Yoda, the lion, and the pirate princess chick, whatever I am.
We
the
think
medieval
she's a pirate queen.
Pirate queen, okay, yes, I get to be the queen sitting in the middle. All right, well, thank you so much for joining us. I think one of the things that we could all agree is that this year has tried to steal a lot of things from so many of us. And I think one of the things that would be top on most of our lists is our joy.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us have had to fight to keep our happiness kind of in our day-to-day lives. So today we want to talk about our fight to keep our joy, our fight to stay happy, especially when so much is out of our control. So maybe our costumes are a little bit distracting for you. Sorry about that. That's not our intention. We just want to tell you they make us so happy.
So happy.
Like,
So much joy. So much joy.
we love to dress up. And I mean, even picking out these costumes, we got to go over to Lisa's house and we had so much fun.
It was
So much
shopping.
fun.
Yeah.
And then we put them on and we laughed, and seriously, sitting here looking ridiculous brings us so much joy.
It does.
So
Makes me happy.
if you're like wondering like what is going on, we just want to share some happy this morning.
That's all it is.
And you know what? I think that Jesus is okay with fun.
Yes.
And not only is he okay with fun, I think he was fun.
Oh yeah, he
Like-
is fun. Absolutely.
Yeah, he likes he liked hanging out with kids, and you know, I don't know. So I think he's loving this too. So just enjoy, sit back and have fun with us. We hope that you came in your pajamas or
Some
something
fun
fun
costume.
too.
Fun.
Maybe some
Yes.
also unique headwear.
Yeah, loving it. Okay, in life, you know what? There's always going to be more things to do, right? No matter what, we're always going to have more things on our plate, more things that could get done,
Yeah.
more things we should do. Okay, we're not shitting on ourselves, so we're not going to go back to that. But there is always more on the list. But I think
There is.
sometimes adding fun is the most purposeful thing that we can do. So our hope this morning is to share some of our happy, some of our joy, and help you to fight for your happy too. So we're titling this conversation, again, remember, we're just having conversations. We're starting a conversation. We hope that you continue it. So our conversation title is Fight for Happy. And I'm going to start with Proverbs 17:22. This is from the Passion Translation. It says, "A joyful, cheerful heart brings healing to both body and soul, but the one whose heart is crushed struggles with sickness and depression." Obviously, that's not our goal, right?
No.
We want a happy heart. But I like that it says a cheerful heart brings both healing to our bodies and to our souls, because it kind of fits in with some of the things we've been talking about emotional pain also, you know, not just our bodies, but also our souls. Philippians 4:4 in the New Living Translation says, "Always be full of joy in the Lord. I say it again, rejoice." And the Passion Translation says, "Be cheerful with joyous celebration in every season of life." Again, we've been talking about seasons. It says to be joyous and have joyous celebration in every season of life. Let joy overflow for you are united with the Anointed One. And Psalm 30, verses 11 and 12 in the New Living say, "You have turned my mourning into joyful dancing. You have taken away my clothes of mourning and clothed me with joy, that I might sing praises to you and not be silent." You know, and one thing I want to say before we get too far into this, I want you to know that God doesn't need or want us to fake our happiness for him.
Yes.
And he doesn't want us to fake our happiness for other Christians either,
Yes.
okay?
Yes.
So just think about that for a minute, because remember Ecclesiastes 3:4, we shared this in one of the first weeks. It says, "There's a time to cry and a time to laugh. There's a time to grieve and a time to dance." There is time for both. And so again, this week, we thought it was time for some happy, because we kind of been
Yes.
talking about a little bit
been
more.
heavy. It's
been
Yeah,
heavy. Absolutely.
yeah.
Good,
But
but
I
heavy.
mean, and even just outside of this room, like
Yeah.
it's been heavy. It's
Yeah.
just a heavy season of life.
It
So we
is.
just want to encourage you to have some joy this week. You know, Romans 12:15 in the New Living Translation says, "Be happy with those who are happy, and weep with those who weep." You know, we don't have to mask our unhappiness.
No.
Right.
Again, that's not our goal. Our goal is to work to understand those emotions and resolve them, remembering that these struggles help us to build stronger character. They make us more resilient, and they cause us to have more empathy. But pretending to always be happy or feeling guilty for not always being happy isn't healthy either.
No.
And that's
Right.
not our goal,
Because that's denial.
right?
Yeah.
Right? And that's not the goal. James 1:12 in the Passion Translation says, if your faith remains strong, even while surrounded by life's difficulties, you'll continue to experience the untold blessings of God. It says true happiness comes as we pass the test with faith and receive the victorious crown of life promised to every lover of God. All right? It doesn't ignore the difficulties.
No.
It
Right.
doesn't deny that life is a struggle, but it says true happiness comes as we pass those tests of faith.
Yeah.
So I hope you're seeing that our joy and our happiness is important to God. I mean, we found so many scriptures, like Jenica's
Got a
sitting
whole
here with
page.
like a whole page of verses in case I give her a chance to talk. So again, I mean, I just hope that you're understanding. Sometimes I think that we think joy and happiness aren't spiritual.
Right.
Like they're not as spiritual as prayer or faith or all these things. But
Deep intercession.
yeah, but I think our joy and our happiness is just as important, if not more important to God than all the other things. Because I think
Well,
it's easier to love,
The
too.
joy of the Lord is our strength.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's literally where our strength comes from.
Yep.
Is
Yep.
that joy and that happiness.
Yeah,
So,
it's medicine. What is
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
verse? I didn't put that in here, but an important thing for us to know as we walk through our fight for our happy is that no one else can make us happy. All right, no one else. And I'm going to go through a few people that we might be looking to for our happiness. First of all, your husband is not responsible for your happiness.
Nope.
So if you're like bugged with him because he's not making you happy, it's not his job.
Nope, not his
I'm
job.
sorry. And your kids, it's not their job either. It's not their job to make us happy, and that can be disappointing and frustrating. It's not our boss's job. It's not our coworker's job, our friend's job. It's not our president's job. It's not our governor's job.
Nope.
Even though there might be a couple things he could do that would make me happy. But it's not his job
Not
to
his
make
job,
me
right.
happy or any of us happy. Each of us are responsible for our own happiness.
Yep.
And again, realizing that we're not going to be happy every minute of every day.
Nope.
That's not
Right.
possible. So this isn't meant to bring you any guilt or condemnation, but realize that if you're never happy, like not 1 minute of any day, you've got a battle.
Yeah.
Like, we got to work through this. You got to find some things that bring you joy. Okay, we also aren't responsible for anyone else's happiness.
Yes.
Say that again.
Yeah.
We are not responsible for anyone else's happiness.
Yep.
That's actually a really hard one for me because I love to be a blessing to people. I love making them happy. So, this has been a hard season because I think no matter how much you enjoy making people happy or blessing people, it's hard to make almost anyone happy
Nobody's
Right.
happy.
right now.
Yeah.
So again, just release that. We can still choose to be a blessing. We can still choose to try and share some happy by
Absolutely.
putting on a silly
Yeah,
hat.
of course,
Or,
of course.
we can absolutely choose that, but we can't choose how people receive it. Just like Lisa talked about, we can't choose how somebody receives a gift that she gives them. We can't choose how they receive anything that we try, any encouragement. And that can be both hard, but it's also freeing.
Right. It
Like
Yes.
if you realize, I'm not responsible for my friend's happiness. I'm not responsible for my husband's happiness. I'm not responsible for my kids' happiness.
It's not a burden we are called to bear.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so as much as we may want to make them happy, again, that's not our job. Ultimately, that's going to be a choice that they're going to have to make for themselves, and they're going to have to find things that bring them joy. It was interesting because as I was thinking about today, I remembered a conversation I had with a girlfriend several months ago. I was actually really struggling with my joy at that time. I kind of made it through the beginning of the pandemic. I sailed through it, because
Yeah.
we switched to online. I had to pivot. I had to do all these different things. So there wasn't time for a pity party. I just had to keep going. And I was so focused on encouraging all of you that I kind of neglected doing some work here. And so I got through April and it was awesome. And then we hit May and we were still kind of doing 5-minute little encouragements. But mid-May, I was like, man, I've got no joy.
Yeah.
I honestly thought,
Yeah.
we were going to get through March and life would be back to normal. I thought we were going to get through the first couple of weeks of April and life would be back to normal. And I thought surely by the 1st of May, like life is going to be back to normal. But when that didn't happen, I was struggling. So my girlfriend, she just kind of called me on it. She's like, so I want you to think about this. She's like, what do you enjoy? And not just like think about what you enjoy. I want you to do some of those things, okay? This is a good friend that can like look at me and just say, this is what you need
call
right
you
now.
out a little bit.
Yeah. And at the time, it was actually a hard question for me because as I was thinking about all those answers, I was like, so many of these things I can't do. So many of the things that actually I enjoy, the things that made me happy weren't even an option at that time in 2020. And so I had to dig a little deeper. Like, first of all, one of the things I love to do is bring large groups of people together. That's one of my favorite things. I love doing theme parties. I love dressing up. I love getting crazy and having a good time. But, you know, not only was that like almost illegal, it's kind of
Right.
socially unacceptable. Like, you know, even having one car in your driveway, there was a time that neighbors would be like,
What are they doing?
Yeah.
there are cars over there, you know, so that wasn't really an option. I also like wandering aimlessly through Target for an hour or two at a time. But there's been another challenge I've run into that I've kind of alluded to, but I can't wear a mask. Like, I've tried just about everything. I have tried shields. I've tried the,
Gators.
yeah,
Yep.
I have tried. My husband is like, seriously, if you don't stop buying options to try and wear, we're done. No, he didn't actually say we're done, but he was getting frustrated with me.
Yeah,
I have a
yeah.
pile. I
Right.
have to take a picture of my cupboard with all my stash of things that I can't wear. And I'm a rule follower, so like I actually want to. I want to be able to follow the rules, but I just physically cannot
Yeah,
wear
medically
one.
you can't
Yeah,
wear one.
right. And I
Yeah.
did find out that there were medical reasons attached with it. But it's just, that's been a struggle for me. So wandering through Target for an hour or two at a time
No more
wasn't going to
wandering.
happen because I know some of you are like, girl, just go in. You've got a medical reason. Don't wear a mask. I'm a rule follower.
Yep.
So it totally takes the joy out of that for me. You know, again, I talked about, you know, large groups of people, but I love spending time with my girlfriends. I
Yeah.
love going to a coffee shop for a couple hours and sitting and visiting. And for a while, again, that wasn't an option. And I also didn't know, like, who's okay with getting together? Who isn't
Right.
okay? So the different restrictions, again, stole a lot of that enjoyment for me. I also love to read, but this weird thing happened in 2020. My attention span has been about as short as a goldfish. What did Pastor Jamie say about that? It's like 7 or 8 seconds, I'm not sure, but it's been terrible.
Yeah, you're not alone though with that,
Yeah.
but no, really, but nonetheless, it's been one of your struggles. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so I kept thinking about her question, and I had to realize that my answers in this season might look different than they have in the past. Like, I could still find things that make me happy, find things that bring me joy, but I just had to look a little bit deeper. So whether it's 2020 or any other year, we have to realize that in different seasons, there might be different things that bring us joy than other times. So, which is another reason, like we talked about last week, self-awareness, being aware
Yeah.
of the things that bring you joy and things that don't. You know, I had to rethink everything, including, you know, how we do groups, how we do community, at least, again, in this season. I had to become more spontaneous with my girlfriends. You know, just reach out and instead of meeting at a coffee shop, come hang out on my deck. You know, I'll make you a coffee. But I also had to resist feeling like I had to entertain because then I wouldn't do it at all. I wouldn't be spontaneous. Like, that would overwhelm
Yeah.
me. You know, I still haven't wandered around Target. Instead, Charlie and I have wandered around our neighborhood. We've taken, you know, walks almost every day until December hit 2 months early. But again, I still found joy in it. It just looked a little different. I've also had to change how I read.
Yeah.
And I had to be okay with starting different books at different times and not finishing them. And I had to be okay that maybe I enjoyed fiction more than I had in the past. And again, that's okay. You know, using my Bible app has actually helped me to be in the Word almost every day. You know, I used to actually kind of feel bad reading the Bible on my phone. It was like one of these things like, well, I should open a Bible. I should go through the pages, but I almost felt like reading it on my phone, almost like it didn't count, which is really silly. But I looked, and I've used my Bible app over 270 days this year. Like, I was like, wow, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And most of the days that I've missed were actually days that I was teaching that I already had my verses in my notes.
Yeah.
So it was kind of funny. But here's the thing, I'm not trying to brag, and I'm not trying to sound like super spiritual, but being in the Word every day has been hugely important for my happiness and my joy this year. You know, it's kind of been my truth check.
Yeah.
I think when we look around right now, again, because there's so many different rules, there's so many different kind of things that almost contradict each other and crazy going on around us, it like grounded me. Oh yeah, this is where my joy is. This is where my trust is. And that's really helped me.
Well, and I think one of the things that I love that you mentioned was, you know, you had said you were reading like a verse or two at a time.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think that how we study the Word can be a big should in our lives. Like, we kind of have these ideas of this is how you're supposed to study the Word.
Yeah.
And there really is not a right or wrong way.
Yeah.
Right.
And just like everything else changes with the season, that will change with the
Yep.
season. Like, I've literally spent months just in the book of John and just looking at Jesus and how does he respond to different people and how does he handle different situations and who frustrates him and how does he handle that, and just really looking at the person of Jesus. And sometimes that's a chapter and sometimes that's a couple of verses. You know, it just is one, but it's just been really cool to just kind of look at that. And then there are other days where I'm like, I just need to read a psalm.
Yeah.
I just need to and you were kind of saying something about.
Well, and I've had the opposite, where I feel like I have just spent so much time looking for specific verses for specific things that I'm getting caught up in the healing and not the healer, and the provision and not the provider.
Yeah.
It's like I just really want that authentic relationship with the Lord where you know his character.
Yeah.
And so instead of going to the Bible to find an answer or look for a verse, which is awesome and
Right.
appropriate.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I am just going to open Galatians and I'm just going to read until I feel like, oh, that's it. That's what I was supposed to read today. And just getting to know the Lord really through the Word as opposed to finding the answer. Because sometimes that feels like a work.
Yeah.
It does.
It's just a work that we're doing.
Yeah.
And sometimes, I mean, I also have had total squirrel brain this year. And like, you know, there are times where I can sit and focus. And I'm just going to be honest. There are times where I can't even get my mind to settle down. And that's when it's just like, okay, this is where I'm at. And then I'm maybe just praying in the Spirit, or, you know, like the Bible app, you can actually you can have it talk to you. And so sometimes it's like, okay, my eye channels are not working right now.
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to come in that way.
My eyeballs do not work
They do not
today.
work. So then it's a matter of, but I can hear it. I'm very auditory anyway. And so that's another where it's like, okay, if you're listening to someone else read the Word, you're still listening to the
you're
Word.
hearing the
I mean, you're still
word.
getting it.
Yep.
That's here, you know, so just, there's not a right or a wrong way.
Right.
Yeah.
There's just,
And I do have a friend who she has a blog that is called The Negative Space. And this morning she posted something, and it just really struck me because I've been thinking a lot about staying in the moment. It's like we spend so much time looking to what's coming or what's next or into the future, or even looking back at the past and wishing that we were back there. It's like I miss babies. It's like things like that we don't stay in the moment. And she has a pair of socks, and one of the socks says "you got," and the other sock says this. So she looks down at her feet, and it's like, "You got this," but she lost the sock that says "you got." So she had on a pair of socks, and one was white, and the other sock said "this." And she had a moment where she looked down at her sock, and it said "this," and she's like, "Thank you, God. That is exactly what I needed right now." Because she said sometimes while we're waiting for that, we are missing this.
Yeah.
And so staying in the moment also, it's like finding joy in those little moments and the little things that spark joy.
yeah.
Do flowers spark joy? Have some flowers.
Yeah.
Do cookies spark joy?
Make
Have a
the
cookie.
cookies. Yeah.
Yeah. Does kale
absolutely.
spark joy?
No.
Then don't do kale. But if it sparks joy,
Then have the kale.
have the kale. It's okay. Sometimes it's like, let's not let's not, we can over spiritualize things, but we can also under spiritualize things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Take those little things, those little moments that spark joy, and just thank God for them.
Absolutely. And take it, like, take
Yeah.
that moment.
Yeah.
Be
Don't
present.
let that moment
Take it.
pass. Yeah.
Be
Be
present
present.
in
Yeah.
it. Because I think that's a good thing, again, to keep our joy and keep our happiness, is just to be here right now,
Yeah.
be in this moment and appreciating each moment. Because again, there can be so much concern about what's ahead.
Right.
And you know what?
We don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. And so again, just choose to have joy in that moment. I'm going to read Romans 15:13 in the Good News Translation. It says, "May God, the source of hope, fill you with all joy and peace by means of your faith in him, so that your hope will continue to grow by the power of the Holy Spirit." I just love that. Again, God, the source of our hope.
Yeah.
Filling us with joy and peace. Again, that's in that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So remember, there will always be things that need to be done, right?
Yes.
We know that. So we have to remember to make room for things that we enjoy and just choosing to enjoy this moment. Be present. These things, they may not seem to add too much purpose to our season, but sometimes adding a little fun, adding a little presence of mind is the most purposeful thing that we can do. So we want to encourage you to take some time to not just think about the things that you enjoy, think about the things that make you happy, but also to make time and take time to actually do some of those things.
Yeah.
Even if those things look a little different right now. We love you guys. We hope that you have a fabulous week. We love you so much. Have a great week, and we'll see you back here next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.